This is Stephanie Walsh for Side B Radio, hanging out with Philip Markle.
Hey, Stephanie.
Phil, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey, I'm Philip. I'm an improviser and actor in New York City, and I'm the New York Director of Education for the Annoyance Theater, which is a Chicago theater where I wrote a lot of shows, had a lot of fun, and now I'm helping launch them in Brooklyn since 9 months now, I think.
So, did you move here to open the theater in New York, or just...
I decided to move to New York after I had a nervous breakdown one day, followed by the best massage of my life. Literally, those two back to back.
Okay.
Like, I'm losing it, and then I had the best massage, and I woke up the next day and I just decided I'm moving to New York. Don't know why, but I just knew it was right. And then I told the Annoyance that I was moving out here, and they tapped me to launch it. So that fell kind of nicely into things. And then by the end of that week, I have an apartment out here. First one I looked at, which is horrible to any New Yorker that's had to go through that search. Sorry. But yeah, it just seemed to be meant to be.
Just fell into place.
Yeah.
How long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching since I was 15. I never did a waitering job or anything like that. I just taught. I actually just taught 3 hours today, so I've just been teaching and teaching. But I love it. I taught kids for a very long time, and I think they made me so much better. Because the second that you're boring in front of a child, they're gone.
Yeah.
There's no forgiving. And adults are challenging in their own way. They've got more barriers in some ways to like the way that they have thought before they walk into the class. And kids are just like, okay, I'll try that. But certainly as far as like keeping a class moving and fun, I learned that by teaching specifically third graders.
And have you always been into comedy, or did you start with a different kind of acting?
I think I wanted to be an actor. I had really grandiose notions. And when I went to college, I remember, this is important, that I was so like, oh, I just need to be a good actor. I need it so bad. And I would go and write these really annoying journal entries, just like comparing myself to my classmates and feeling like my whole world was riding on how truthful I could be in my acting class. And it wasn't until I started branching out into teaching, I did creative drama in college, and then I started doing the improv thing, that I realized that you don't have to lock yourself down. And that what you think you're going to be when you're 17 my life is wildly different. And I have a totally different understanding of like what it is to do than what I was always sure I was going to be doing.
So you do a lot of improv, obviously, but you also do musical improv. How did you get into that?
Well, I was a musical theater performer, and I love improv, and I love singing, and I love doing things that are so hard you could call them a clusterfuck, and put them together, and what have you got? Bibbidi-bobbidi musical improv. I fucking love it. And, you know, improv for me, it's about the audience and how they encounter wonder. And I always say that, you know, like a stand-up comedy show, an audience sits like this.
Mm-hmm.
At a play, they sort of sit like this. At an improv show, they're like this. Like, oh my god, this is being made up. And at a musical improv show, they're just like, their jaws are on the floor before you've done anything. So you're really like it just feels good to do it. And it's very hard, but the audience's wonder is my reward.
Okay. I have had the honor of seeing Happy Karaoke Fun Times twice.
Yes, you came!
Yes, I did.
Twice, that's right.
Where did that come from? And do you have a specific group of songs, or is it completely just randomized by your DJ?
So, Happy Karaoke Fun Time is a musical improv show where we sing new lyrics to karaoke tracks. I made it up in my basement in 2008 while working out to Lady Gaga and singing new lyrics just to myself. And then I was thinking, and this is why you should always do your best thinking at the gym, well, my gym being my basement and like terrible weak half push-ups, well, I could do this on stage. And then I got a group of people, we rehearsed in my basement, and then I think the show's been running 6 years now. We're doing it in New York. And that's really just like tenacity. Like, we've had so many different casts come in and out, but finally in New York we got casts that can sing their asses off. And that is like the Broadway caliber voices. That's really, I think, making it special. And we have we have done in the course of Happy Karaoke, I would say 250 tracks, and I have them all on my computer.
Wow.
But for any one show, we come in with about 16. because there's nothing worse than getting off. It requires you to know the track. Otherwise, it's just horrible for the audience. So we don't know what track our DJ is going to play next, and he's really sort of like playing off the scene. And sometimes if it's a very dark scene, he'll play like a Disney song and sort of make fun of it. Or otherwise, he'll just, play a love song for a love scene. And we never know what he's going to play, but we have we have ones that we've rehearsed.
Okay. Do you have any specific moments that stand out in that show that you've been doing for 6 years? Like one show that was just so ridiculous?
Yeah. I sang, No, no, Teddy Ruxpin, no, to a giant Teddy Ruxpin doll to the song Sweet Child of Mine. We once sang to Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars to the Son of God. But apparently I was a very upset father who couldn't get it up, which is why Mary conceived through God, because Joseph couldn't get it up. So I sang something like, when I see your face, it doesn't look like my face, 'cause you weren't conceived, I couldn't get it up, whatever.
Wow.
It was really fun.
Have there ever been any ideas that you just you couldn't put into a show? Was there the suggestions audience gives you where you're just whoa, we're not touching that?
The most common suggestions that I've come across are you ask for a location, a bathroom. You ask for a fruit or like a food product. People say pickle. People are very phallic. People are very bathroom or I think
fucking. The one I saw was tube socks.
Tube sock, yeah, like a dick sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'll take anything, but what I've been trained to do is sort of spin it and go lateral instead of go literal. So you say tube sock, well that made me think of winter time and wearing those oversized socks, and I'm on a camping trip with my family and they're just annoying the hell out of me. And there I've sort of recreated it.
Right, so you don't go for the obvious joke.
Yeah.
Okay. So how often does Happy Karaoke Fun Time happen?
It's now every third and fourth Friday of the month at the People's Improv Theater at 11. And we're adding an audience participation moment if people want to sing karaoke at the end, because it's the karaoke show. So we're going to have a real karaoke machine and people can get up. And then we're going to do something really fun, which I can't spoil.
Okay. So you have to come see the show.
Yeah. We do, if you go to the website, we do a lot of independent shows. We're specifically coming up on June 14th. That's a Saturday at 7. We're doing a cage match at the Upright Citizens Brigade, the independent cage match where you can win or run, and so we're going for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your bio on the Annoyance Theater website said that you're also in Co-ed Prison Sluts, My So-Called Afterlife, Skinprov, and Brunch Punks.
Yes.
What are those about? Is that completely separate? Describe those for me.
Those were Annoyance shows.
Okay.
And so the Annoyance is a 27-year-old theater in Chicago that is uncensored. And they use improv. We have improv training out here in Brooklyn. But the improv is to help you make plays and musicals. And it's uncensored. So their longest running show, which is actually the longest running musical in the history of Chicago as a city, is Co-ed Prison Sluts. It was written in the 90s. It's about exactly what it sounds like. And I played, my first show I ever did at the Annoyance, I was the cross-dressing psychiatrist, the prison psychiatrist who was a psychopath. And by the end of the show, I had completely changed into a woman on stage. And then I had a real dog who I sang a love song to and made out with. And then I had a battle with a clown.
Okay.
So that's the Annoyance. And the other shows, My So-Called Afterlife, I devised at the Annoyance Weekend through improv with Tim Paul, who was the director, and Alex Kleiner, who wrote music. It was an original musical. And it's so cool to write musicals. That's sort of like musical improv, where you're rehearsing songs. And some songs, like in Co-ed Prison Sluts, there's a song called the Dame Song. She improvised that when they were rehearsing in the 90s. It hasn't changed since. Wow. I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely. So those aren't things that you're doing in New York. Those are just previous shows you've been involved in.
Yeah. The Annoyance in New York has classes right now. Hopefully we'll have shows soon. And then let the madness begin.
But the plan is to build it up just like it is in Chicago. Well, not
yes.
just like, but...
Well, they just made a brand new theater in Chicago. And now we're looking toward eventually having a theater space out in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's different comedy in like different regions? Like you've done Chicago and now you're doing New York. Is it a different scene? And describe that to me.
Yes. I think two things. I think New York really likes to think. They really like to think. They want to understand why something is the way it is. And you know, in Chicago, I learned to justify. But there's almost like a need to explain in New York. And once we've explained what's going on, then we'll start having fun. And I like mystery. I like absurdity sometimes. And so that's been a little bit of like we have to explain what's going on. And I'm like, I'd rather just keep those cards to my vest and act for a while. Mm-hmm. It's more of like looking at the scene from outside the scene. And Chicago's very much about I feel like the actor's way of like, I'm an actor in this scene, how do I feel? And going from my character, then looking sort of like outside the scene in. Also physically, the stages in New York I think are just smaller. And so there's a lot more standing around and talking, not by everybody, but sort of overall. And Chicago, you've got more room to fuck around.
And you also did stuff in San Francisco, correct?
I grew up in San Francisco.
Right. So you did act there as well?
I did, yeah. When I was a kid, well, growing up like a teenager, I did a thing called the ACT Young Conservatory. And I met a lot of friends there who I'm still very good friends with, many of whom live in New York. It's funny how like you look at your high school friendships and who you've kept in touch with, and our little ragtag group of theater makers.
I don't know that I actually keep actively in touch with anyone from high school. So.
You don't have to. There's too many people.
Yeah. Okay, so you also wrote a one-man show called Sparkle Hour.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Sure. Sparkle Hour was a show I wrote at The Annoyance. And a lot of people write one-man shows at The Annoyance. I think it's like a place where you really are encouraged to find your voice. And it's a cool thing to talk about because I envisioned it as a variety hour where I was hosting like a lot of my talented friends to do, you know, sketches and stuff. And on the journey of that show, I had really great directors who pushed me. And this is why I think like a director is so important. Because they forced me to go and say, what can you actually say with this show that you have that no one else can say? And to stop hiding behind the idea of like a vaudeville, like a variety show. And I completely rewrote it and told a personal story of like my journey as a kid to growing up, peppered with sketches and songs and a message of live epic, which was like the big call to arms of the show. Mm-hmm. And I wrote that music and I performed it. It's a 55-minute show. It's exactly what it says it'll be. It's a Sparkle Hour.
And that was for what specific? You were doing it for
me.
A festival, right? Well, yes,
originally I was like, I'm gonna write this for me. I want to see. I think everyone should try.
Right.
Writing one-man show is the worst and best thing. And then I got into the New York Fringe Festival with it, and that was another reason to go to New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing it again? Would you rework it and bring it back?
You know, this is interesting because I feel like I moved on and I didn't want to do it again. I did it 2 more times in New York, and I was like, this is a story I've told. I want to write something new. So I wrote a sequel, actually.
Oh, really?
But I've not done it for anyone. In fact, when you saw Happy Karaoke Fun Time, that was me putting in a show where I was maybe going to do the sequel. But I didn't do it. I wrote this entire show and I didn't do it. And I didn't feel the show was ready yet, and I didn't want people to pay ticket prices for something that I didn't feel was professional, product yet. Mm-hmm. But I also was just sort of like, I wrote that for me. And when I'm ready to do this sequel, I will do it. But it was kind of cool just to write a show for me. It's like I can play it right now. It's like it's all in my head.
Yeah, that's good.
That's okay.
Well, I was introduced to you when Team Star Kid, theater group from Chicago,
yes,
was in town back in April, and you invited them to Happy Karaoke Fun Time.
Yes, I invited them to play.
Okay. How did you get involved with them, and would you work with them again in the future?
Yes and yes. Jamie Lynn Betty, who was in Star Kid and played that show, used to be on Happy Karaoke Fun Time once upon a time in Chicago. I knew a bunch of them from Chicago. I knew most of them from growing up. I was friends with Darren Criss, who was one of the founders of Star Kids. He did ACT, that conservatory I talked about, as did Dylan Saunders. So I was good friends with them. Then we went our separate ways in college and sort of came back when Star Kid moved to Chicago. And I would see their shows there. I sort of got to know the company a little bit. They were really cool cats, and I was always impressed by their work. and their fan base, which is sort of insane. Like, you saw a tweet from Brian Holden that was for that show, and you came.
Yes.
I wish I could tweet and people showed up. That would be amazing.
Do you do sketch comedy?
Mm-hmm.
And would you ever like do film acting or?
I would love. I really love doing shorts. The most viral one was only because we did a First Kiss parody I was in. And that just goes to show that like original content on the internet is really hard to get around these days. Mm-hmm. But you do one, referential one like First Kiss, and I think we did first. First, I think of it as it's when you blow on someone's belly button. Mm-hmm. What's that called?
Raspberry.
First raspberry, and so that one got like hundreds of thousands of views just because of the referential nature.
Right.
But I know in Chicago I worked for Second City on a boat. And it was a cruise ship, and I did 15 shows a week for 4 months, and almost it was both amazing again and kind of like I want to jump off this fucking boat. But that was a really like good training ground for improv and sketch comedy. I did a lot of reps.
You're more comfortable on a stage than you would be behind a camera? I
would do either, and they're both rewarding in different ways. I mean, like I said, the wonder of the audience is huge for me, but being able to craft a moment on camera, I also like editing too. That has its own delight, but it's more just like pleasing yourself in that moment. And I do please myself. In fact, that's like the central core of like the annoyance is like take care of yourself. But I'm really getting off on I'm pleasing myself. Ooh, and that pleased you in the audience, and I can hear it. And that's like that circle of love that happens in a good show. So
if my listeners or viewers want to find you on the internet, where would they go?
They can go for Happy Karaoke Fun Time. It's happykaraokefuntime.com, or just throw that into Google and you'll get it, or close enough. And then for The Annoyance, where we're going to be doing shows soon, and we have classes that I teach and others teach, it's theannoyance.com/NYC.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I want you to sing to get them to come see Happy Karaoke.
All right. What song should I sing to?
Oh, God, I don't know.
All right.
Just freebase it. Tell them why they should come, how they should come, when they should come. Go.
I guess you should come to see some happy karaoke fun time. You will have a fun time. Ooh.
That's beautiful. And when is the next one?
It's at the People's Improv Theater, 3rd and 4th Friday of every month. And if you go to our website, we have lots of other shows that happen as well. I also play every Friday at 8 at the Pit. So Fridays at the Pit.
What do you do on Fridays at 8 at the Pit?
Another musical improv team. So that's going to be forever.
Awesome.
Forever, but for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be at the Pit on Fridays.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.